Hey guys, Anthony 4x4 Diesel. In this video we're going to talk about a few things, a few very important things. One of them is these tyres, the BFG KOs, the PROJECTA DCDC charger that I'm not happy with, the drawer fridges of the awesome storage system, which there's definitely pros and cons, and maybe more. So let's start off with the tyres. Firstly, I want to start by saying this sort of information is more going to be found on our touring channel, 4x4 Touring Australia. So that's one you may like to subscribe to, turn the bell on, and all that sort of stuff. It also includes a lot of trip and track information, the scenery, the roads, whether they're sealed or not. Now, there's a bit of conflicting information. There's a lot of talk about the BFGs at the moment and what tyres to get, and I've said in other videos that you need to select the tyres depending on what your use is. Just getting in a bit closer here. This is the left-hand. I first should probably tell you, so these tyres, they were purchased late 2019. It's now mid-21. These tyres have done about 40,000 Ks, but probably 40,000 Ks of that most harshest roads that most people's KO2s would see. I say most, a lot of people that live on dirt roads or regular outback travel, they may see more, but this vehicle, our 2019 150 Prado, is for touring the outback. So it's done a bit of track work, it's done a bit in the high country, it's been to every state of Australia other than Tasmania in its limited lifetime. It is very limited because remember COVID lockdowns in 2020, and it was only born in September 19, and it's only mid 21 now, so we use it a lot for off-road. We do a lot of trips. That's why we've got two channels. One's supposed to be more the diesel side and one's the touring side. Sometimes it goes either way, so this is one kind of letting you know about the touring channel as well for this sort of information. Now, left rear, a couple of bits of information. Firstly, on the Prados, generally or exactly, whichever way, to save arguments, we'll call it general or we'll call it exact. When you haven't got your center diff lock on, about 60% of the drive goes to the rear, about 40% to the front. Now, it's obviously varying on the conditions and the traction and all this sort of thing. So basically, we're going to take a look at these other tyres in a moment, but let's just take, normally it's the left-hand rear that cops it the worst, but it's actually the right-hand rear looks worse than this one. Now, we've sort of said, are these BFG KO2s any good anymore or not, you know? So this is what I've found, because, you know, we've noticed they're all seem to be made in Thailand now. I don't know if you can still get USA ones, or we just don't get them in Australia, or the availability, or whatever the case may be. Firstly, these have also been very reliable as they are. Even the Thailand ones on the other vehicles haven't had an issue with the Outback. And when I say haven't had an issue, with genuine punches, rocks and whatever, if you've been watching the videos, you may see we're really unlucky and we got a side wall, we got a nail. It was on billy guts in the high country. A nail went straight in about here into the tyre and back out around about down here. That's not what I call a genuine puncher. That's something you'd even get on the blacktop, and it's really just luck. We also had an old rusty thread tap go through another tyre, which was on the inside of the, I think it was the right-hand rear. It's still on there, and it went in about there. But look, they both plugged up no problem, okay, so that's the good news. Every other BFG I've never had an issue with, nor has anyone I've ever seen travelling with me. And we're talking about the majority of those, but every time we have the minority of other tyres, it could be just luck, but it seems to be they're the ones that do cop the punches, usually from a bit of sidewall damage. And you can see these have nicked a few rocks here or there. There's one little, you can see that little one there, right? But around the whole tyre is actually looking pretty good. There's not many marks on them. Let's just have a closer look at the tread, because a lot of people say, the KOs, they're crap and they chip up and all that. Now, what you've got to understand is, if you've got a tyre that's a road-orientated tread pattern, it's not a grippy tread pattern, it slips over everything, it doesn't grip, right? This is more of a grip, this is a kind of tread pattern. This is an off-road design tread pattern here, that on the tracks, it wraps around and grips on rocky rocks and shale or dirt or anything really. They do grip really well on the tracks, and they're very reliable off-road. but you do traditionally always get a fair bit of chipping on these sorts of tyres. The KO2s, the representatives from BFG said they get 100% better off-road wear compared to the KO. Look, I'm not sure about that, but these tyres, I promise you, have had an absolute hammering, okay? They've done so many Outback tracks, it's not funny. I wouldn't even start naming them. It'd be easier to name the ones that they haven't been on. But just take a quick look around. From what we can see, right, at some of the chips and chops and the typical wear and tear on these tyres. And some of it's my fault. I'm going to tell you why. We're getting to that, okay? So don't go anywhere yet. We may even just end up talking about tyres in this video, you know, because I go on so much with the information. So that's a quick look at, this is the left-hand rear, okay? Let's go and have a quick look at the right-hand rear. Actually hasn't worked out too well, to be quite honest, because when I came back into the camp, there was a bit of water down, and it's picked up all this sandy stuff on the tyres, so we can't actually see. But I'll give you a couple of spots there, like that one. You know, see the back of these treads here? They're just missing. That one, the back of there. So their right-hand rear just seems to have absolutely copped a flogging. There you go, another chunk out of that one there, right? This is real stuff what's going on here, right? You can see it. I'm telling you, they've copped a hammering. You know, wear down, all that sort of thing to the right pressures, but you can't see too much with the dirt there, unfortunately. Let's go and have a quick look at the front so you can see how much better condition they're in, and I'll tell you why it's my fault. Very similar here, we've got that sand. See on the ground here, we've got this sandy stuff in between the grass. So, but I can tell you now, the front tyres are in much better condition. I'll go around, show you a little bit. Around here a bit. Alright, let's have a good look at those tyres. You tell me, I'm not going to tell you. I'll tell you, yeah, I will tell you. They're in really good condition. They're due for a rotate, that's for sure. This is the right-hand front. Let's go check out the left-hand front. Okay, the left-hand front tyre. Normally one of the worst worn tyres, particularly on the edge and all that. Remember, these have done about 40,000. They've been well looked after. They've been over some really harsh territory. Let's have a good look so you can see the consistency of the front versus the rear tyres. Right, these are due to go on the rear. Due for a rotate front to rear. I don't rotate tyres every 5,000, sometimes not even 10,000, because whether they're on there, some will disagree with this, whether it's 2 plus 2 plus 2 equals 10 or 5 plus 5 equals 10, or you know, your tyres, often you get up to 100,000 k's out of off-road tyres. Whether you do it every 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, it's all even in the end. So to be quite honest, every 10, 15 or 20 is usually fine, depending on the tyre where you're getting. And obviously from the air down situation, we get a bit more wear on the outside edges, particularly on the fronts, and there's more tread left in the middle here on the front for that reason. Not the same on the back. See the back one, it's got a lot more load. That's where the load goes in the back of the vehicle. When we're fully loaded, you know, we've got the tent on the roof, you know, Black Wolf Turbo 300, self-inflating mattress, a swag with a doona, plus all the bags in the back, all the food, all the water, all the fuel. So the back obviously cops a lot more weight. So you can see in the middle here, it is worn down a bit more, and these are a bit disappointingly worn down, I could say on one hand, that I've got to 40,000 k's and they're this worn already. But when I look at the territory they've been over and how reliable they've been, it's kind of no surprise, and it's amazing they're not bloody completely gone. Now, these, they look pretty nasty at the moment. They need to clean up. They've got some dirt in there. They need to go on the front, all this sort of thing. They'll be all right for a bit longer, but you really want to make sure you've got, you know, at least 70% tread, good condition off-road tyres to do big Outback trips. So I just want to say, it's not the tyres that are crap here, it's kind of my fault. So I started off by telling you that the drive, 60% at the rear. So I've sort of put these tyres at risk of a puncture, and perhaps I did it on purpose, because I like to sometimes do the wrong things and push the limits a bit in for sort of like R&TU, research and tell you purposes, you know what I mean? So you can see it here. If you were to, whenever you hit dirt roads or off-road, you should lock the center diff so that it equalizes the drive from the front to rear. So at the moment, if you've got a rough dirt road with gravel and rocks and sharp rocks, and you've constantly got this rear tyre turning it's turning more than the front, it is slipping, and that's exactly what you're seeing here, this damage you're seeing. It's trying to grip, it's a grippy tread pattern, but it's forced to turn faster than the other end. So the front essentially is sitting there not doing as much work. Now, if these, every single time the center diff was locked, when it went in off-road conditions, whether it's sand, dirt, gravel, whatever, the drives then equal locked front to rear, all right? So with it not locked, what can happen is, it can be even anything. If you've got a lot of slip, all the drive goes to where there's least resistance, if you know what I mean. And that's why, you know, that's kind of almost like the rear could be spinning and the front could be getting no drive. And that's kind of like what's happened here. It's probably maybe not even a 60-40. It's hard to tell. You'd have to put, you know, yes, scientific, technical measuring equipment to work out exactly what the percentages are, but we can demonstrate by the wear on the tyres that you need to use your center diff lock. Once you do that all the time for the life of your tyres, which perhaps we'll do on the next set. How about this, right? On the 120, I've got a new set of BFG KO2s. What we'll do on that, whenever we hit a dirt road, as we normally do, this is what we normally do, we flick it in to lock the diff to make sure that we're getting even drive front and rear, and normally we get even wear, almost on purpose. Look, I've locked it sometimes because some of the roads I don't want to risk it, but about, let's say it's about half the time I've locked the center diff on this one. And this is the sort of damage you see on the rear tyres, okay? Copy, not all the tyres, the rear tyres. And if you had it locked all the time, you'd see a lot less damage here, and you'd see a little bit more on the front. Anyway, let's move on to that charger and just quickly tell you some feedback on that before we finish the video. Just going to have a bit of chit chat about this PROJECTA DC charger and the solar. We've demonstrated before, and we can demonstrate again, or I can just tell you, okay? There's nothing wrong with that charger. It's not wired up wrong. You've seen it perhaps in other videos. And now we've had the time to use the solar, the battery, and the fridges a lot, and we're just going to give you some quick feedback. The solar charge regulator side of it, I'm not happy with. I'm not going to call it rubbish and put down the product. I'm just going to tell you what it does, okay? I will never use a PROJECTA DC charger again. I've used other solar panels, many different solar panels here. I've used other solar panels in my life with other charging systems with cheap regulators that come with them, and they do much better. We've got other people camping with us using other panels. Lots of variations, and what happens when you're charging your batteries, and it doesn't matter if it's being charged by the alternator or by the solar, charge voltage is around 14 volts, give or take, whatever. I'm not going to argue whether it's 13.8, 14.2, 14.5, somewhere there. When you're getting a good solar charge into a battery and the battery's getting up there, even when the battery's down a bit, you will see 14 volts. It's charge voltage. When you're charging a voltage battery, it pushes the voltage up. At no time, okay, the battery here is good. There's no issue with the batteries. It charges up, it's good, it's been tested, the battery's awesome. The Century Dual Force 90 amp hour, very happy with its performance. I think it's on par with an Optima, but we haven't done enough direct testing yet to be able to say 100%. What the situation we've got here is we've got the solar panels in the full sun. I'll quickly show you those. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know if you saw that or not, but I just reached up there. They're in the full sun. There's no clouds here. And we've done this for days, and we've used other people's panels going into this regulator, and it does charge the battery. We've started off in the morning with the battery low and put the solar on, and it's charge the battery and run the fridges all day, but it doesn't charge it up well, and we never see a voltage higher than about 13.2, and quite often it's 12.8 or 12.4 like now. Now, why is it 12.4? When the fridge compressors kick in, okay, it's a hole there for the fan for the fridge compressor, the top fridge. It's running. It drops about 0.3 of a volt because it's using about 2.5 amps, somewhere around there, to run a fridge compressor, right? So that's why it's down a little bit. Sometimes 2 cut in, that's why it's down a little bit. But with proper solar charging, if it was at 14.2, it would have dropped to 13.9 or 8. It wouldn't be sitting anywhere around 12.5. Now, with many days of testing, trying different panels, and everything, I can tell you that this is what you get out of the Projecta charger. I don't know what other people are getting, right? Not exciting. When you start the engine, generally the voltage comes up pretty quick. If the battery's very flat, it'll stay down in the low 13s for a little while, but it's definitely minimum low 13s, okay? And as it charges up, it easily gets up to around the 14.2. So you can have it full and then have the solar on, switch the engine off, straight away you're back down to about 13 again, okay? It's not going to float charge. It doesn't matter if you start with the battery flat, half flat, or full. You never see a good charge voltage from this Projecta solar. I'm not happy with it. I still believe the Red Arc SBI 12 is one of the most reliable ways to charge your batteries. Obviously there's lots of variables to that. That's for under bonnet batteries up the front there, short distances, and that's what I recommend. In our next vehicle, in our next Prado setup, we will use a similar setup to this, but we'll install a Red Arc 1225D most likely, just to do a bit more testing like this, so that we can say we've used these DC-DC chargers, because we've never said you need them, we don't believe in them. And the VSR, voltage sensitive relays under the bonnet, pick a reliable one like the Red Arc. They work, they do the job. The alternator charges 2 batteries and you'll see charge voltage, which is awesome. And the cheap regulators that come with the panels, connected direct to the battery, do the job. So these fancy solar charging stuff, in my opinion, so far we don't need it, and it's just not doing the job. One compressor's cut out, the other one's still running. So that was 2 compressors. When the other one cuts out, it'll probably go up to around 13 where we normally see it. Now finally, these drawer fridges, which we picked up from Melandi Outdoor Adventure, nothing wrong with them. Okay, nothing wrong with them. Basically the deal is, they work, they get down to the 0, give or take, I think they go maximum -2, right? We've got some stuff in here. This one's, you can see it's only set on about halfway. What do we got? Just over 10 degrees, just lettuce and tomatoes and that. We don't need that stuff too cold, right? Now this one, we've got things that need to be cold, right? So somewhere there's a bloody thermometer, I don't know where it is, but it'll be down around 0, cold meat, cheese, marge, whatever. I don't even know what's in there, right? It doesn't matter what's in there, right? There you go. Really happy with how simple these are to use, but I've said it in other videos, it's not the insulation at this end, but the insulation at the top, right? At the top here, I can feel that's cold there. The insulation of the fridges is not that great, and the reason I know that is because I can hear the compressor still running. I've got other fridges, other cars, other batteries. I've used many others. There they are, Melandi. That's where the fridges come from, Melandi Outdoor Adventure. And that's where the battery come from. That's where the suspension come from. And that's how we roll. Quality products that we use, we also recommend. Basically, the fridge's insulation isn't, the only explanation is the insulation isn't good enough. So the fridge works well, it gets cold, but it requires the compressor to cut in and run a lot more than a traditional fridge, because the insulation, the thickness, right, let's have a look, right, there's no thickness there. We're talking about 12 mil or something there. Bit more at the sides, not much at the bottom. There you go, you can see the bottom of the drawer flex in it as well, so it's just how it is. Nothing wrong with these drawer fridges, just the insulation isn't doing it. I could run this video for another 20 minutes, and you have to take my word for it. If I come to the vehicle and stick my head in here, I generally hear at least 1 compressor running during the day. It's not that hot here, it's about 30 degrees. It's beautiful weather. Okay, the car's parked in the sun. We've got doors, the back doors open, there's plenty of airflow. It's not getting hot, it's not getting up to 60 in the car. I've got my head in the box here right now. It's quite peaceful and quiet in here. Actually, I might stay here for a while. Right, you can see 12.8. The bottom fridge compressor's running. It's just cut out, there you go. Within minutes, the top compressor will cut in. A normal traditional fridge, whether it's a WAECO or Engel or whatever, you're going to see a lot less compressor action. So in the hour, if you're in 30, 35 degrees, the compressor might run for maybe a third of the hour, maybe a quarter of the hour, depending whether you've got it in the sun or not, how many times you keep opening it and all that, because the insulation factor's there. These obviously don't have the insulation factor. It's like I've left the fridge wide open. Just have a quick look at the voltage. No compressor running, 13.1. We'll just keep the video going. It's not It was 3 topics. We've gone a bit long, but those people that watch have got the information here. This is a 4x4 diesel video if I get it right. But stuff like this, most of the information is going to be on 4x4 Touring Australia, and on both channels, check our playlists for the information you need. Okay, so 13.1. You know, the solar's there charging. Let's climb up there and have a look at it. There it is. Right, you can see it. There's your panels. Full sun, there it is in your eyes, right? Like I said, that's about the best we see, 13.2. That's not good charge voltage. Right, now listen for the compressors. Haven't got anything yet, but I assure you it's going to come on very soon, because it does it all day, every day. I've got to know these things really well. So I'm just providing the feedback. The fridges are awesome, they work well, the compressors work well, they're reliable, had no issues with that. The storage system here, really awesome as well. As soon as we have time, and we working with our manufacturer to manufacture these so that you can get your hands on it, it's really awesome, the storage system. But if you're in colder climates like Tassie and Victoria and cooler type things, or you've got really good solar or a good battery, these are great. But if you're going to be in hot weather, 30, 40 degrees, 40 degrees, up the top end of Australia, just use a normal fridge that's got really good insulation, because insulation matters in high temperatures. Now I should show you this as well. 13.3. It's going to make a liar of me. Look, it's just going to keep going up, up, up. It's probably going to go 14 right now because I'm making a video on it. Anyway, compressors aren't cutting in, making a liar of me. I'm seeing 13.3, like the highest we've ever seen. I won't say that. Every now and then it'll go boom, boom, boom. And I mean, when I shouldn't tell you this, every now and then, we're talking about once a week, randomly you'll see it go up to 13. We saw 13.7 just before. That's what triggered me to add this into the video. But you can see it's not happening now. And some people are saying, oh, but it's on float. And look, you know, it may be that now. But even when the battery's low and it should be kicking in, pumping it, it doesn't do it. All we see is 12.5 or 12.2 or 12.7. It's all in the 12s. It's terrible. You can plug in another set of panels or another regulator, and up they go to around the 14 volt mark, you know what I mean? Anyway guys, that's the video. It's getting a bit long, sorry about that. Hope you liked it. It's to help educate you and share the experience. If you did get that, please press the like button, and remember to subscribe on both channels so you don't miss out on this important information. We'll have some more videos and feedback for you soon. See ya.